assisting the organization of this course of introduction to general semiotics. So today I have a surprise for you. Yesterday you met one of the members of the research group Facets, which is a group of semioticians working on the semiotics of the face. Today we're going to meet another researcher of the group Facets. Her name is Cristina VOTO. Professor Cristina VOTO is a global scholar. She has been active in many countries, in many continents, actually. She joined the research group Facets at the University of Turin this year, but she was a professor before at the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina. She is Italian, but she also speaks Spanish and other languages fluently. And she's a specialist in particular on the semiotics of design, the semiotics applied to architecture, the visual semiotics. And now she's working a lot on the face, thanks to her skills, to her specific training. So I'm very glad to have her in the seminar, because this course is a course in general semiotics, but at the same time semiotics has many fields of specializations, many different applications, and it is impossible for one single semiotician to cover all these fields. So I really thank Professor VOTO, Cristina VOTO, for joining us today, and I'll give her the floor, as I did yesterday with Professor Marino, for the first part of our lecture. So, Cristina VOTO, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Massimo, for the really generous presentation. I'm really happy to share this part of the day with you, and I really hope to be at the high of the expectation. So I'll start with sharing the presentation with you. Here we go. I hope you can see it. Okay. Can you just please confirm me everyone can see the presentation?
Yes, perfectly, Cristina. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Great. So, as Professor Massimo Leone told you, I've been involved in other countries and also other, let's say, disciplinary fields. Design, of course, but also digital arts. And today my talk is concerned with this field. And I'd like to start by analyzing the title of this presentation because it deals with some interdisciplinary words and meanings that it's better to have clear since the very beginning. So I also tried to translate some Chinese for you. If it doesn't fix with the English, just please forgive me. I used an automated translator, and it was just a try to make my presentation closer to you. So by using the word mattifying, I mean to use a verb that is capable to describe the process of making a surface, not transparent, not shiny, which means a process of making dense and visible the complexity of a phenomenon. By using the word visage, I mean a face that sees and is seen, something that contains two eyes and that has a gaze. By the word artificiality of the visage, I refer to its production, to the production of the visage as the result of a non-human intentionality. And specifically for this presentation, I will analyze some digital visages produced in the context of digital arts as artistic work and practices that use different AI technologies like computer visions, deep learning, and generative adversarial network. So, reflecting on the artificiality of the face in digital arts can help us to make visible certain issues of meaning that make the face a plastic surface of identity. The tensions between biological, physiological, and cultural values identify the face and transform the visage, understood as a singular face. We said before as a face that has two eyes, that sees and is seen. So this tension between the natural and the cultural value of the face transform the visage into the trace of the unstable forces that construct a subjectivity. So the aim of this presentation is to unmask certain areas of meaning related to a semiotic of the artificial face in digital arts. Art is, in fact, considered as a privileged field of analysis, able to visualize and reproduce not only a model for the present, but also a model for the future. While contemporary facial society confronts us with the accumulation of faces not generated by human agency, an omnipresent and non-significant faciality across media, urban planning, surveillance system, and healthcare, digital art, on the contrary, shows a series of productive gestures capable of mythifying the transparent promise that connects visage with a non-mediated interpretation and analysis of the identity. So thanks to the analysis of a corpus of digital artworks, the presentation will recognize a series of counter strategies that, through the use of errors, deformities, material translations, and intersubjective operation, will mattify the digital visage. So we are certainly in a visual semiotic field, and the aim is to translate this field to a social question. In her book, Our Biometric Futures, Kelly Gates, which is a scholar from the United States, recognized in the system of face representation the significant clue with which to describe society and the historical moment that produced it. So, recovering a proposal, I believe that the spread of artificial faces in digital culture can tell us something new with respect to ancient social practices, such as facial identification, meaning the connection of a visage to an individuality, and facial analysis, meaning the extraction of information from a visage. As Massimo Leone suggests, we can trace two long traditions of long duration in parallel dialogue with each other with regard to the identification and analysis of facial images. A first tradition that recognizes a particular area to images of faces not generated by human hand, and the second tradition that assigns to image of artificial faces an unmediated interpretation. And I quote, "Since the face is so central in human behavior, facial images that are considered as produced by a non-human agency receive a special aura throughout history and cultures, as if they were endowed with extraordinary powers. Furthermore, since in many societies the face is read as the most important manifestation of interiority, non-man-made images of faces are attributed to status of authenticity and earnestness, as if they were the most sincere expression of some otherwise invisible agencies. In order to be able to recognize and analyze how these two traditions continue to make sense today, my proposal is to account for how digital art has given form and matter to a series of gestures of automated facial detection. These gestures designate a technology that no longer has the task of facilitating the storage, indexing, and manipulation of collection of textile, sound, or iconic data, but that of revealing in an automated way the composition of circumstances of all kinds. A technology that reveals, visualizes, and therefore creates new facialities. A technology capable of manifesting the reality of facial phenomena beyond their appearance and substance. Facing the expansion of this automated confidence in face detection, contemporary artistic production has reclaimed strategies of matte visualization that are made of dense material textures capable to resist to the transparent revelation and detection of digital technologies. And here we go to the core question of my presentation. If in digital art, the artificiality of the face is the result of a complex dynamic of visualization and revelation, what does the digital visage reveal and detect? So, here we go to these two counter strategies that I try to map to think about this core problem. In visual arts, there has existed since immemorial time a tradition that imagined the production of artificial faces, not made by men's hands. This approach is linked to the phenomenon known as pareidolia, for which it is interpreted in a perceptual field where there is no representation at all, the representation of a face. Seeing faces where there are no one, included in the clouds, is the result of a process linked to the survival of the human species. But what if facial recognition software recognizes faces where there are none? This phenomenon has fascinated the history of arts, and both digital arts and artificial intelligence have been fascinated. Artificial vision can be affected by the same phenomenon. In fact, it can be affirmed that artificial intelligence systems are not just sophisticated versions of cognition, but also of perception. So, this is the first example, the first artwork piece that I would like to show to you that works with error, that tries to mythify the digital visage through error. Just please let me know if you can hear the sound.
Yes.
Thanks. Cloud Face is a work by Shin Sung Bak Kim Yong-gun, sorry for the pronunciation, which is a Korean duo. And the piece, the work, the artwork starts exactly from this productive gesture, short-circuiting the transparent semantics of facial recognition with an operation, the error, that recalls the aesthetic of the avant-garde in the beginning of the 20th century, the Dadaism, for example. The duo matches the error of a facial recognition system and subjects the artificial vision to the identification of faces in the daytime in a sky crossed by clouds, which is a really common operation, isn't it? I can bet every one of you has made it at least once in their life. Let's go to another artwork, always by the same Korean duo. Now this artwork is called Non-Facial Portrait, and you will see it also deals with errors. Fine. In a later work, the duo, this later work, as I told you before, is this installation, which was also exhibited in the Media City Seoul. The duo continues to propose method visualization strategies and ask to 10 painters to create a portrait of the same person. The painters must, however, follow a single rule, as you saw in the video. The work must not be recognized as a visage by 3 different facial recognition algorithms, but the final result must be formally recognizable within the artistic genre of the portrait. An interesting aspect of this artwork is, once again, the error. The incongruence as a mattifying point of contact between human and artificial agency. During the painting, the algorithm wanders and recognizes faces even where there are no one, in the stains of color, in the veins of the table where the painter works. But also the painter intentionally wanders and makes errors for unrevealing the visage to be portrayed to the point of deceiving the algorithm. So this is the first counter strategy, the error. And now let's pass to the second strategy for mattifying the identification. Okay, I show you first the video presentation of this artwork, and then I will pass for the analysis.
If you hear somebody playing a piano, you ever ask, is the piano the artist? So here, just because of the mechanism, it has a change in rules. Memories of Passerby is a machine that I created that will keep on generating portraits of non-existing portraits painted by the great masters from Western art history. Yes, so now the machine is in this in a cycle where it continuously creates new faces that start changing, that fade away, and it observes itself, creates a feedback loop. It's not just record video or curated print or curated images that hides fixity. It is doing it. So basically, I think it's a system. This consists of two screens, which show man-looking portraits, the other one for portraits. Then there is a case which was kind of custom for the purpose as which creates those paintings while you look at them.
So another another gesture capable of mattifying the transparent promise of the artificial face can be that of automated deformity, understood as an incongruent and a misplaced identification between the expectation of the visage and the representation of the face, as in the case of Memory of Passerby. The work puts in contact in a single installation space, and we saw it, the history of European Western portrait with a more traditionally experience of domestic use of media and the artificial production of faces through antagonist generative neural network. The antagonist generative neural network are a class of automatic learning methods that simulate human learning through adversarial logic. That is, thanks to the interaction of hierarchical levels of intelligence that make their performances more effective. The work, therefore, is not an archive, and it is not even like a database, as the author said, composed of data to be processed. Memories of Passerby is an artificial intelligence system that creates artificial portraits, pixel by pixel, without an interruption. The outputs displayed on the screens are not programmed combination of existing portrait images, but faces generated from scratch by artificial intelligence. In this sense, we can say that the artwork is an autonomous creative agent who learns and acts autonomously. This neural and antagonistic revelation not only mattify the incidence of artificial agents, but also identify the basis for imagining a new perspective on artificial memory, because we can really think about the memory of the images in this piece. So I told you about a second tradition following the Professor Leone's studies about the semiotic of the face, and they try to identify a second counter strategy for the analysis of facial images. And this second group of counter strategies are related with the material turn of contemporary art and with subjectivity. As I said, there is a second tradition that assigns to images of artificial faces a spontaneous and non-mediated interpretation. The second analytical tradition outlines a field of tension between visibility, recognition, and identification, a field that we can imagine starting from the following question: what do facial relevation gestures analyze? And during the analysis, what information makes sense? So let's go to the corpus of analysis. And here is the first. This is a project by Zach Blas. The Face Cage project mattifies the process of interpretation of data necessary for facial recognition and identification through a material turn during the process of revelation. If the success of the biometrics industries lies in the promise of transparently and effectively identify a precise identity, Blas converts this promise into reality and reveals its consequences. The visual pattern, which is these, of facial biometric recognition is represented by a series of graphic diagrams of visages drawn on the face for recognition and identification. These diagrams are a standardized display of data in the form of broken, incongruous lines, where the similarity between face and visage is hard. Face cage is a dramatization of this biometric visual pattern that begins with their material transformation. In the video, we see a performance which was made by another artist. The person who is wearing the mask is not the same Zach Blas, but it's another artist who is wearing this biometrical mask, and the performance, the aim of the performance was to support this mask on the face. The computational biometric visage, the result of the process of measuring, visualizing, and accounting the face, once materialized as an object, an artifact, turns the visual pattern into a metal mask to wear. This is why I was talking about a material turn. A cage mask that mattifies the biometric visual patterns with the materiality of the visual face. This is what I mean to underline in this artwork: the relation between the visual pattern, and the materiality of the human face. Now I'd like to pass to another project, art project of Zach Blas, which is called Facial Weaponization Suite. Since the video presentation is quite long, I'd like to show you just a part.
Faces non-existent. How do we fuse visibility into the fog of awareness and fuses to be recognized? Today, there are numerous modulations of a clear politics centered around gaining visibility through recognition. Just think of current debates around same-sex marriage in the U.S. Such with the desire for recognition from the state or longing to be validated by our neoliberal. There is also another clear politics that could be said to be concerned with the non-recognizable, a politics that is anti-state and anti-recognition. Let's call it a politics of escape. Escape not only expresses a desire to exit current regimes of control, but also to upbeat for living others. To start, faces have elements. Created for many faces that are interchangeable. Faces like me. Female Algerian freedom fighters in the 1966 film about Jews. They break into occupied territory of colonizers in hard Spencer's faces and protesters who hide their faces so that they may be seen. In response to these emerging studies that link successfully determining sexual orientation through rapid facial recognition techniques, we began to recognize the face through masks. In solidarity with Anonymous, Lucy Ryan, and the Zapatistas, we embrace the power of the collective face. We make our faces common, the mask can become a faceless threat, the clear obey. In the tradition of collective protest actions that emit individual recognition, like the Black Bloc, we have produced a collective back face mask that offers a mutated, alien face that cannot be recognized. Our back face mask, generated from biometric facial data of many queer men's faces, allows you to read the faces of many with a single mask, while facial detection claims that homosexual, terrorist, criminal, undocumented, just can be recognized simultaneously.
Okay, so this other project by Blas also works thanks to a dramatization, the Metis, that is able to mattify the transparent interpretation of artificial faces. Starting from a new gesture resistant to the biometric technology and the bias that these technologies propagate, Blas create intersubjective masks modeled on facial data subjects whose identity are discriminated. These intersubjective masks deformed the visage that cannot be recognized as face by facial recognition technology. So I like to go now to the conclusion of this presentation. Okay. In the 1970s, the philosopher and poet Edouard Glissant claimed the right to opacity as a relational mode of existence against the transparent and universalizing logic that transforms subjectivity into a fully interpretable system. Opacity, wrote Glissant, is what protects the different. Whether we're dealing with process of colonial subjugation, like those suffered by Glissant in Martinique, or with process of self-quantification, like those of our contemporary digital biopolitics, we are witnessing the progressive reduction of identity to a transparent aggregation of data to analyze, to be stored, to be indexed. This is what automated facial detection promises, a transparent and efficient revelation. Recovery glissant lessons today means not only claiming the right to an ontological opacity, but, above all, the right to a technological opacity, which is also proposed by Zach Blas. Disciplines like biometrics, geolocalization systems, GPS, radio frequency identification technology, data extraction and analysis algorithms all work thanks to global protocols that aim to solve identification as data body. However, as already analyzed by Donna Haraway at the very beginning of this enterprise, human and non-human animals are not transparent entities, but material, and we can say opaque, matted individualities. Okay, and here is the conclusion. I really would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm ready if you have any doubt or question. I don't know how you normally do, Professor Leone, in this case, but here I am, and I'm ready.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Cristina. I suggest, if you have time, to have a short break, because we have already had a 40 minutes class. So we take a 10 minutes break maximum, and then we come back for questions and discussion of what Professor Cristina VOTO shared with us. But for the moment, thank you so much for this very passionate and passionating presentation, which adds a lot to our knowledge of how the face is the object of artistic invention and experiments today. So we'll resume in exactly 10 minutes.
Okay.
We are back, and there is a question from Wen Zhuo. I want to ask that, what was the cloud face recognition for? Did it start out as a test to see if the machine can recognize faces? I don't know if I made myself clear. So, Cristina, I don't know if you are back there. And so, yeah, there is a question about the purposes of this, because I didn't receive the audio of your videos. I mean, I received it, but with a very low volume. So, like, if you can go back again to this experiment and explain, like in your words, a little bit more, what is the purpose of it? So what is the purpose, the artistic purpose or experimental purpose of this original activity with machines and in photographs of machines having as an object clouds?
Yeah. Okay, maybe I will start with sharing with you back the images. Okay.
Okay.
Oh. Actually, the sound of this video is not really important. It's really a diegetic sound about the experimentation, so I can comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea or maybe better to say the artistic purpose for this artwork is to make in common, to make a dialogue, to make a bridge, let's say, between artificial and human agency. I guess that to make in contact these two possibility of actions, I mean, the idea of look at the sky and recognize a cloud, a face in the cloud, to do these gestures, both by human and artificial vision, is a possibility. It opens a possibility to make in communication computer vision, human vision, and it's really a way to make ourselves see what the machines can see, and on the other side, make visible what the machine can be learned to see. I mean, the problem of using the error of a facial recognition system in this artistical practice is, to my point of view, the core problem of open to a dialogue between artificial and human agency. I mean, to make in common, to make a dialogue between these two possibility of perception.
Okay, thank you very much. That is very clear. It is also very important to us because yes, of course, and of course, it is very useful also in the frame of our introduction to general semiotics, because we said in the first.
I cannot hear you, Massimo. Okay.
What about now?
Yes.
Can you hear
now
me?
I can,
yeah.
Sorry.
So what you said is important also in the frame of our course, introductory course for general semiotics, because as we said in the first lecture, but also in the second one, semiotics is a discipline that studies communication, but we should distinguish between signification and communication, and the distinction is always a distinction of agency. So let me say it in other words. Most people in contemporary technologically advanced societies, when they look at the sky and they see clouds and they see some recognizable figures in the clouds, for instance, they see faces, they normally do not think that there is an agency behind them. They probably think that the agency behind those faces is just a coincidence. There is no actual motivation. There is no causality. But this has not always been the same. There have been other cultures in time, and there still are other cultures in space for which shapes in nature, recognizable figures in nature, are not actually the product of chaos and are not just a coincidence. In the Middle Ages, for instance, theologians would think that that was a projection of God into the clouds, that God was actually, the divinity was actually talking to people through the clouds. And in other epochs, it was thought that there was a physical process thanks to which some objects that were on the planet, on the surface of the planet, would be then projected into the clouds. Of course, all these explanations do not make any sense to us nowadays, but because our ideology of what a figure is, or what a random figure is, has changed. But the question I have for you is, do you think there is a kind of reflection also on, let's say, the transcendence of the machines. So is there something about a mysterious power of these machines that let us see things in clouds, exactly like in other epochs it would be divinities or cosmic forces? So is there also a special power that is attributed to the machine?
Okay, I was on mute. Yeah, my answer is yes, because as I tried to point out in the presentation, the non-human agency of these images is also related with this peculiar way to interpret their technologies. I mean, today we deals with technology that is really difficult. That are really difficult to be understandable, to be manipulable, to be acted by artists. And as a consequence, we can see that there is always a deeper and signification of the technology as something that is erratic, as something that can stand, that can reveal, that can make significance, that can manifest a reality beyond the appearance, beyond the substances that conform that reality, which was a bit the aim of this presentation, to point out this problem with our contemporary relationship with technology, because we are really surrounded and we are really used to manipulate our reality with technology, but in most of the cases we cannot access to the black box of that technology, and as a consequence we can see these transcendent relation with the technology.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That is very interesting. And I don't know if there are any other questions or comments from the audience. Otherwise, in your case too, we did the same also with Gabriel Marino. We would like also to take advantage of your presence here to know a little bit more about your work in general. And you've been always very passionate about applying semiotics to design and the arts. And so how could you say something about this application of semiotics? So what is your specific field, and how do you think semiotics could contribute to this field? You know, talking about your experience in the past in Buenos Aires and now also in Italy.
Okay. Okay, this is a really good question. Thank you for making it. And I started my relationship, because I will speak about in these terms, with semiotics, I would say already 15 years ago. And I always thought about semiotic as a tool, as something as something necessary and capable to make me understand better and work better with everything that surrounds me. And what I mean by talking about a tool is because in my life I also worked in, let's say, more cultural public events field. And I always used semiotic also as a tool for those kind of practices. So I can use a metaphor maybe for telling you what is semiotics to me. And I'm a person who wears glasses, as you saw it, and really semiotic to me is a pair of glasses that can help you when you wear them. So, and here is the point. I mean, to want to have the responsibility to want to have the responsibility to wear them. So to be able to interact with the person, reality, the work, the job. I mean, a tool for make myself more confident, and more capable to act out with the reality. So I really use semiotic as an application of this potentiality in different fields, not just in the theoretical, let's say, investigation, but as I was saying to you, also in public engagement, let's say, in programming cultural events, in the fields of cinema, arts, and I can say that really also there is a core potentiality with semiotic that is really a discipline that is in the movement. I mean, it's evolving synchronically with the time we are living. So this can open to two solutions. One is that we also can be engaged to that movement of the discipline, and also that the discipline is really useful for understand the contemporary world that we are inhabiting.
Okay, thank you very much. And so also what is particular in your approach is the fact that you have been working in another continent, in Latin America, in Buenos Aires, in Argentina in particular. And now we are teaching to students in China. And so we are also trying to understand how semiotics can be adapted to different contexts, to different audiences. So what is your experience of adapting your semiotics to Latin America and interacting with scholars, but also designers and artists in Latin America?
Yeah, in my experience, I would say that applying semiotics in Latin America really means to focus that what we share when we have a collective experience is a discourse. What I mean with that is that living moment of making sense together. So semiotic helped me to be able to understand the Latin American context, because it offered me the capability to analyze and describe that context. So I think it's a really useful as a discipline also in a multicultural and interdisciplinary context. And I hoped I could show it in this occasion too.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope too that in the future you'll be able to meet also students and colleagues from Shanghai University, not only online but also face to face. Hopefully during a visit in Shanghai, and so adding a third continent to your experience. I see that there is a raised hand by Jian Han. Is that a question?
No, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I would like to thank very much Professor Cristina VOTO for her lecture and for discussing with us the role of semiotics in her work. And again, hopefully we're going to be able to participate to more events organized jointly by University of Turin and Shanghai University in the future. It is now, I believe, lunchtime in Italy, so a very good lunch, well deserved, and have a very good day too. Thank you, Professor VOTO.
Thank you, Professor Leone, and thanks to all the students, and I really hope to see you in the next times. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye, Cristina, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and yeah, all the students are thanking you. Well,